Hello, everybody. Hi, welcome to our Zoom chat today. Yeah, we just wanted to do something where anybody could ask any questions they want to do. So if nobody has any questions, I'll go back to the deal I'm negotiating. Bye. Well, there's like nobody here, but Jen and Brian and Marcy. And Marcy Brennan, I see you. Hi, other Marcy. I mean, you're not other Marcy. I shouldn't call you that, but we just have a Marcy on our team. And I didn't get any questions in Instagram stories, none of them. So I think we need a topic generally. Does anybody have a burning question here?
What?
Wait, we can hear you. You can say it. And there's Johnny Frost added here. Johnny, nobody has any questions for us.
Oh no, I'm so sorry.
Nobody came to my Zoom party.
I'm so sorry. Hang on a second. Let me get on video here. I don't know why it's not turning on.
You can send me. We'll just talk about your house search with me and Brian.
Oh, this is perfect.
We'll do a live house search. Oh, Marcy's asking. We got a question. Thank you, Marcy Brennan. I'd like a small house, 1,200 square feet. Are these houses less popular? I would say that they're less popular than they were for sure, because a lot of people want space for like a home office or for guests, or they're going to be there longer. So they need more, whatever closet space, whatever it is. But there still is a big market of people who want to have like weekend homes or getaway homes or, just kind of small things. So I think that they're not necessarily like wildly less popular. The things that are less popular where you'll have less competition is if a house does not have character. So character is one of the things that makes it a lot more competitive. If the house does not have privacy. So that tends to make it a lot more competitive when it is private. If there's anything that causes noise, like if there's a quarry, a barking dog. Stuart, I already came late to my own Zoom. Don't ruin it more. If there's like a quarry or you're on a busy road or there's an actual racetrack in Accord. So if you're close to the racetrack, then Friday and Saturday nights, you can hear the cars going by, and that is not great, although there are $1 million houses near there. I think those are the primary things, honestly, that impact price right now. And then obviously if it has it could be like an ugly house on a road with a creek, and those things kind of balance out, or it's in the right price range. But I would say that the size is a little bit less of a factor. Although I do think that a lot of people don't want homes with one bathroom. So that is a plus. So if you're looking for a 1,200 square foot home and it has one bathroom, you're going to have weeded out a ton of people who are looking for 2 bathrooms in their searches. I mean, I would say it's literally like 98% of people are looking for 2 bathrooms, and that's like a deal breaker thing for them. So in a weird way, it might be like the same kind of level of competition if it was like 1,700 square feet with 1 bathroom, would be like the same kind of thing. So how hard is it to find contractors? It's hard right now. And I will also say that building materials have gotten wildly more expensive. Somebody told me yesterday that the price of plywood, I think, has gone up 7 times. It was I kept hearing it's twice as much, it's 3 times as much, but now it's I think 7 times as much as it was a year ago.
Oh my God.
And they don't have any idea when those prices are going to go back down. So that and it's definitely not going to be until winter, because this is when the really big building season ramps up. But just as an example, there was a friend of ours was buying plywood for subflooring. So just literally the flooring that you put under the nice flooring, and a sheet of that would have been $18 a year ago, and it was $68. So it's huge, but like somebody was also, they gave me, like our contractor was telling me that the cost of a box of nails, like things that you used to not even think about have become like actual costs that you have to factor in now. So renovations are much more expensive. And as the prices are going up, the contractors are sometimes having to like increase the price midway to reflect the price of the materials, because it's just so much that they would actually lose money otherwise. So that's you know, as long as you're not doing something that requires a ton of building materials, it's not a big deal. Like if you're redoing a bathroom and they're just putting in new tile, a new toilet, whatever, like that stuff is not going to have a huge impact. If they're putting in a deck, it would have a big impact on something like that. If they're doing siding, you know, anything like that that requires a lot of materials, that's where I think it gets more expensive. And yes, the contractors are hard to find. What I would say is that it's easier to find people to do individual jobs than to find an amazing general contractor right now. So if you can be your own kind of general contractor and you like can go and find like a tile guy and a roofing guy or a deck guy, any of those individual jobs, or like a plumber, it's going to be easier to find someone who can do a small job for you in those categories than a general contractors. They first of all don't want to do small jobs, and also they just, a lot of them are really just booked until next year basically. I will say that this is, you know, Upstate Curious, our new app. I'm going to stop calling it new pretty soon. I mean, people are finding recommendations for all those categories like pretty much instantly. So that's something that is really amazing, because we used to kind of guarantee to our clients, like, we're going to help you. And that's still true. Like if you can't find something, we do guarantee that we'll do everything we can within our networks to find people like that. But now our first step would probably be to post it in Upstate Curious too, because you're crowdsourcing across a huge area of people also who've used people like really recently, you know, and would maybe even know their availability, or if they've gotten busy and sloppy, you know. So it's really, I think that's great. I would also say people aren't doing this yet, but I would say that if you are thinking about working with somebody, I would probably post it there and be like, hey, I'm thinking of working with this contractor. Does anybody want to DM me some feedback on the person? Because people in general don't want to post negative things, because it's kind of like a weird vibe to do that, and maybe also legally problematic for them. So, you know, but if you posted it and someone had a bad experience with that person, I'm sure they would contact you if they saw it, you know. So I would definitely do that. Okay, Johnny, this is a good question, because this is something that's changed with mortgage pre-approval letters being needed to see houses in this time. What's the strategy recommendation for pre-approval dollar amount based on the asking price? So this is going to sound possibly counterintuitive, or maybe not, but generally we would recommend to get a pre-approval for the highest amount you can get it for. And it used to be that when we would put in offers, we would be like, okay, let's go in at like, you know, 425, and we'll get a letter that says 425, and then we're negotiating, and then we get the second letter says 445, which is our counter, and we'd like get it in increments. But now in this market, you're often competing against cash, and you're competing against people who can waive the mortgage contingency or have a boatload of cash. So I have no problem if you're putting in an offer for like 350, like if we've got a letter that says you qualify for 1.5 million, God bless. Because if you're buying a house that's 350 and you have a letter that says 1.5 million, it doesn't mean you want to pay 1.5 million on that house. And actually what we're seeing with a lot of people is when they kind of switch gears from like, maybe they were looking for like a condo or a co-op or even like a brownstone or something in New York City, they do have these like massive pre-quals. But then they're like, we're just going to keep renting in the city and buy a weekend place. So it's like, it's literally like they qualify to buy something more, but they're not going to. So it's like, I think that at this point, even if you give your game away and they're like, we can negotiate against you because you showed such a high pre-qual, 99% of the time right now, you're negotiating. I mean, you're not negotiating with the seller, you're just trying to beat other buyers. So I would say just like get it as high as possible. And then if we see houses that are lower, they just think you're more qualified. And not every agent would say that, by the way, but you know, again, like we're not every agent. So, you know, there's that. But like, I think I think it's fair. It's the same thing. Like if, if you have proof of funds for something, like to show that you could cover something for an appraisal or like whatever it is, I'm like, let's show them that you own Kraft Foods. Like I literally don't care. And you're buying like a cabin for 175. Like it doesn't matter because like, you know what? People who have money don't necessarily don't want to overpay on things either. So, but what it shows to them, the other thing that I guess is important in terms of what it shows to them is that someone who's really close to the edge of their finances, they're also the ones who are going to really need to request fixes when it comes to the inspection. And they're going to need to, like, if anything comes up, they're going to not be able to cover it. So like, if you're like, oh, the dryer isn't working at inspection. So in standard market, you would just be like, fix the dryer, dum-dum. Like that's what the sellers would do it. In this market, we may have already negotiated away your right to do that. And the reason we can do it is because you're like, okay, for $1,000 extra here or $800 extra, I'm going to get the house. I'm going to fix this dryer myself. If somebody has no extra money, they can't make those decisions. So it's good to be like, I'm comfortable with it. And I think a lot of it is in how we talk to the other agent about it, how we present the offer and how we present buyers. And we do not send letters anymore. So that is a fair housing violation waiting to happen, essentially, because there's almost nothing you could write in a letter that's meaning, unless you can write a letter as long as it's like really just about the house and how much you love it. And like, you don't mention your gender, sexuality, marital status, profession, like anything that they could discriminate against you or somebody else on. But we as agents have an opportunity to explain who you are as buyers and to be like, you know what, this was a little over the budget for what they had. You can see they're qualified though. They're willing to stretch because they feel like they're going to need to do less work on this one. And they're super into it. Like they have a healthy renovation budget. So they're not going to go like wacky in the inspection. That's what we ask the other agent first, what's important. And then we feed that information back to them. What's important? Okay, great. Interestingly enough, our buyer is such a perfect fit for what is important to your seller. They're not usually asking for anything where that's not true. They're not like, we only want to sell to like clowns or something. Although that would also be a fair housing violation. One I might support. No, I don't support any fair housing violations, not even a clown only sales policy. Jen's looking at me like, this is going right. And like, I'm going to get my like license revoked any second now. Am I seeing, or do you think significant renovation investments can be recouped in home value in 5 to 7 years? So here's the interesting thing. I think you could probably recoup it right now. Like, I think the moment you're done right now, like there's such a premium on design and for turnkey stuff. And that's actually been true for a long time. So if you get something and it's like, okay, or like pretty good and you make it awesome. The best example of this was this fall before, a lot of the increase in prices have only happened this winter, but like our clients who owned 70 Hauser Street in Hunter, Hauser, they bought that house for $260 in 2019. They invested roughly $50,000 into it. We sold it for $680. And it was like, and they did a lot of work themselves, but it was like, it was almost all about them buying at the right time, them recognizing that the house could be amazing with some cosmetic updates, and then doing really smart, like they made good choices. Like they didn't renovate the 2 bathrooms. They like kind of painted them and made them look a little bit cuter, but they didn't undertake a big expensive renovation. They put in an IKEA kitchen that looks amazing. They refinished the floors, I think, instead of putting in new floors. So they made choices that made a difference, but didn't cost a lot. And that was within 1 year. So I don't think there's any 5 to 7 years of waiting. I think in 5 to 7 years, we're going to be looking at a totally different market where the appreciation, I think, will be so much higher that like it might even outpace what you would get from the bump with the renovation costs. But let me just say that I think like, here's a different example. The house that we just put on the market today, 250, no, 256 is Yulon, but that's actually another good example. 42 Clay Hill in Kerhonkson. That house they bought from a family friend for $40,000, where the family did almost all the work themselves. The dad's a contractor or builder. But it's back on the market at 350, and they basically completely gutted it. Like that was a big project, and that would have been really expensive if they had to pay other people to do it. But it's like new roof, new plumbing, new electric, da 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 da. But that they're going to have a substantial profit within a year. Now the question is, with a house like that is it's closer, it's closer to other homes. So I don't know if they'll appreciate as much as like the house in the middle of the country that has the weekend buyers plus full-time buyers as a potential market. But I think that as we move along with this stuff, and as more and more people discover the area, I think there's going to be there are people who want to be in a village home who don't want to actually be out in the middle of the woods all by themselves. So for them, this is pretty great. And like, these guys know their neighbors. They say they're all super nice. And so for some people, that's going to be exactly what they want, especially because it has a big backyard and a creek and stuff. Yeah. So I think that I guess the one thing I would say that is good to think about, because of the time period that you mentioned, which is kind of a weird thing, but I finally read that statistically, a home looks dated after 8 years. So 8 years is apparently the amount of time you get until your home starts to look dated. So 5 to 7 would actually be like, weirdly, you'd be like hitting the edge of where they're like, why do you have like these tiles or whatever, so ironically, it may be like the appreciation is bringing it up more then, but it's something to keep in mind, and obviously making like relatively classic choices. There's not, I don't think people are going to be like, oh, those white walls or, these wooden beams, I hate them. Windows looking at nature, gross. I think there's some stuff that's going to be, stylish forever, but, anyone have any questions? Marcy, do you have any questions as a homeowner? Marcy's like, no, my house is dope and I bought it at a great time. She's like, see me on the deck here? I got no questions. Just what ice cream am I eating at Dell's today? That's my only question. Which I am very excited about, by the way. So, well, not done. Where should you visit? Okay, where should you visit? Oh, okay. One thing in Saugerties that I love is Opus 40, OPUS 40. It's this guy, Henry Fite, Fite, who is this like incredible, I think they call it a sculpture garden. I think that's actually what it's called, but he went like very OCD, not OCD exactly, but like they basically had a bluestone quarry and he made like 800 billion bluestone walls and like these like amazing, huge things with just like stacked bluestone basically, mostly. And it is like unbelievable that one human did this, and it is such a beautiful place to go. So you basically you can walk around the grounds, and in summers they have concerts and all kinds of stuff, and you've like one of the most best views of the Catskills also. So you're standing there around all these like rolling hills with this incredible like bluestone artwork, and then the Catskills are just like right there in the background. I love that. So that's Saugerties. Yeah. So you went there already. That's great. I mean, the Saugerties Lighthouse is super cute. So that you just like, that's just, it's like an obvious one, but just like you do a little toodaloo to like go check out the lighthouse, which is cute. I like Saugerties a lot. Like I think Saugerties is super cute. So I would walk around Saugerties, Uptown Kingston, Midtown Kingston's got some stuff now. The Rondout in Kingston's got some stuff now. So there's a lot to explore, and Saugerties is very close to a bunch of stuff. And you could also go up to Hudson. You could go across the river. So Hudson or like Germantown, there's a place called Suarez Brewery. If you like breweries on that side, that is, I think, phenomenal and has really nice seating area. On the other side, there's Westkill Brewery, which was where I think we're going to have our next Upstate Curious event, which is gorgeous, like in the mountains. Um, gosh, I don't know. There's just like there's so much to do, I feel like. And also, you know, I mean, you're going to be there in late May. So like probably by then there's going to be like maybe some fruit picking, maybe by late May. I don't know. Or like maybe not fruit picking, flower picking, Jen? Could be there be flower picking? Jen's like, no, you don't know from plants. You can go to a store and like buy
There's
some
going to
fruit.
be a million like garage sales, antique stores. There's going to be like tons of like outdoor like hiking and all of that. Things will be in bloom. I don't know if you're going to be picking anything, but it'll all be in bloom.
Oh, I wonder if that's when the mountain laurel. I always forget when mountain laurel is, but like mountain laurel, depending on where you are, like the mountain laurel blooms, it's these like bushes that make these like alien flowers. They just look like white flowers from far away, but up close they look like tiny little squid aliens. So beautiful. So like like Minnewaska, Mohonk, I mean everywhere that, you know, if you just Google mountain laurel, you'll, I'm sure, find them. Oh, asparagus picking in May. Greg Farm. So you could go to Suarez Brewery and go there. You love Mountain Laurel. Yeah. I mean, honestly, like, I mean, what we do is like, we just kind of make any excuse to go anywhere, you know? I mean, so that's it. It's like, I'm like, oh, I have to go to Rite Aid. Like I'll go to the one in Rhinebeck and go get ice cream, or I'll like, you know, craving pizza today. So I'll drive to Mountaindale instead of like driving up to like High Falls. So it's like, there's just a lot to explore. And actually we had this conversation with Johnny not too long ago about how there's just so many good areas. Like literally it's hard to find a shitty place to live up here. It really is. You know, if you have specific things, like if somebody has specific things, like I want to go skiing every day or something, it's like, great. Then you got to be near the ski mountains. Or if they're like, I don't know, like I'm an avid cyclist, I need to be near this road, you know, then that's a thing. But it's, in general, as long as you like where the house is, you like the immediate surroundings around the house, you're probably going to be pretty good. The one thing I would say is I think people underestimate how important the drive to the house is sometimes. So if you have a beautiful drive to the house from like whatever the main road is, and you're like, oh my God, this is amazing, then you're going to feel like, it's like the extended curb appeal, you know, like it's sort of like curb appeal starting like from 7 minutes before. It's going to be amazing. Like when I drive to my house, if I go up Boyce Mill Road in Kerhonkson, I'm seeing the Catskills, I'm seeing this beautiful farm, I'm seeing the gunks, and it just makes me like happy every time I leave or, you know, come back. So I would think about that too, is like, if there was a town that you're going to be going to a lot because it has the major amenities, just like check the drive and see if it's nice. And maybe that like my drive is not the most obvious one. It's the 1 minute longer one. So I had to like find my 1 minute longer drive to find the one that like feeds my soul. So, I mean, the main thing I would say with the red flags, looking at a property online, is just always do that Google map search, because it's like, that's really a lot of it. It's just like a lot of times you can have a house that's on 50 acres where the house itself is right on a busy road. Yeah. And the racetrack. Yeah. I mean, so it's like you know, or it's like in a subdivision or something. Like you want something that feels really country, and you like do Google satellite, and you're like, oh, whoa, this is like actually feels really suburban. So, you know, as much as we can, and we can't always do Google Street View because a lot of the areas here aren't covered by that. But when we can do Google Street View, we definitely do the satellite. We definitely do Street View when we can. And then there are apps there's one called Onyx, Onyx. And then another one called, what I have is called Landglide. So it's like, so basically I can use this, and I can type in any address and it'll give me the satellite view with the property overlay. That's what Google doesn't do. So I can be like, I don't know, but you know what I will say, it's interesting. So this is my house right now. And if I looked at this, I might, like, if I was talking to a client, I'd be like, oh, I don't know, look at these like 4 houses right on the edge. Maybe it's like piled around by houses. And, you know, when we look out of 3 of our windows, we see nothing but forest. So it depends a little, you know, again, it depends a lot on how the house is oriented. But I guess if you see, well, the little dot's in the way here, but you can kind of see it. So I could see here that our house is actually, like, even from satellite view, you can see that the house is oriented to just look at the forest. So that, I mean, that's really the biggest thing, is just start with Google. I mean, because we literally rule out like 30% of houses after we look at Google Maps. We're like, nope. Trying to get, Brian, can you think of anything else that you would do for like red flags when you're looking at a property online? Oh, I did think of one other, is taxes. Like, you know, I would say taxes are often reported wrong in places like Zillow. So don't trust that. If they look really high, ask your agent, because they sometimes what they do, which is weird, is if you don't pay your school taxes, which is the higher of the 2 taxes, it's like twice as much, they add it to the county taxes for next year. So then when Zillow says like the taxes should be 7,000, the next year, and your school was, let's say 5, county was 2. If you're like 2 weeks late paying school, they add that $5,000 back to the next year. So it looks like $12,000 instead of 7,000. It's so common that we look for it all the time. And sometimes taxes are just high. So, you know, it's just good to know why. Brian, can you think of any other like red flags?
I was just gonna say they can vary so much between like town and town. Like, that's something I wish I'd known.
Well, I think it's even, I mean, the thing that kind of sucks is that it's even worse than it varying town by town, because people are like, oh, what are the cheap towns? And like, we know like Neversink is a little cheaper because the reservoir, and Olive is a little cheaper because the reservoir. But in general, it's actually property by property. And that's what makes it even more complicated, because it's like, if Marcy gets like the 1,200 square foot home, that's going to have a low assessment with the town. So even if she's in a high tax town, because it's a small house, it will be assessed relatively low and then have low taxes. Let's say that house, a 1,200 square foot house, costs $500,000 on the market because it was super cute. There could be a 3,500 square foot home that's like a colonial McMansion that people are less excited about, that also costs $500,000 on the market. That will probably have tripled the taxes. Yeah, but you can say something about taxes. Oh, Danny, you're on mute though.
Hey, can you hear me?
Oh my God, look at him just like driving. God, our team's such like ballers. What's up?
So we get this question a lot from buyers on our listings, because Zillow, if you go down to sort of the little tax calculator or whatever, it always uses the list price of house. They're almost always higher than what we're advertising in the listing, because, you know, there's an assessed value for the taxes and it's not based on the actual list price of the house. So that happens quite often, where people see that on Zillow and then they call in asking about the taxes. So just keep that in mind.
Or they aggressively accuse us of lying, which is actually generally what happens. When they're like, I went to Zillow and I saw it was actually $10,000. And we're like, oh my God, did we get the taxes wrong by not looking at Zillow and actually going straight to the source, the county, to find out? You dipshits. These are all my clothing that I'm returning from my photo shoot, by the way. I was never going to show this, but my batteries are dying. So here it is. Yeah. Yeah, Marcy, love that comment. So your house is kind of close to, well, it's kind of close to neighbors. Not really that much, but your house is also pretty exposed to the road. Like if somebody just drove by, they might be like, this road is too much or whatever, but your house, your road is so goddamn beautiful. And you're like, all of the neighboring things are so cute that it's like, it doesn't matter. That's the one downside of doing things online, unless you can do street view. And then you can be like, oh, we have close neighbors and most of their furniture is on their deck. Indoor furniture, I mean, not outdoor furniture. So if there's like, there's like 6 cars on blocks outside, that's less cool. If you're on, a beautiful country lane, I think that's a really good point. And actually a lot of the really charming houses are right on the road, because a lot of the older homes actually are really, really right on the road. And that's not
my
always
house is right on the road, and we get a car maybe every hour. Maybe there's a car that drives by, but if you looked at it just as a road, you would think, oh, there's a double line, there's a car going by it's going to be a busy road. And it's not at all. It's actually a very nice country road. So it doesn't feel that way. I think that that's a really great point.
Actually, the same is true for our house, the Creekside house near Livingston Manor. We're on, I think, less than an acre, or like roughly an acre, which is also something a lot of people would discount. And there's a road in the back, and it's totally exposed to that. But in that case, I mean, we're putting up a fence we're putting up a fence for privacy this spring. But it's never, it's never really bothered us, because very few people drive on the road. When they do, they like wave and say hi. And our focus and the house's focus is so much looking at the creek and the side yard and the woods that are past that. And then across the creek is just the side of a mountain. So it's completely private. So it is kind of a weird, well, I guess though, that's one other thing that you can see in Google Maps. And this would also be true with Marcy's house, is that like, if you're looking, like if your backyard is like, if there's a big lot on the other side, that's also awesome. Cause you sort of get like, even whatever the size of your lot, you get to see like somebody else's forest. So same with me here, like the side of our house, the lot's line is relatively close, but the guys next to us have 8 acres and their house is like a 3-minute drive down the road. So for our visual enjoyment, like we basically get to look at another 3 acres of their thing and we'd never see their house. So here's the weird thing about city noise versus upstate noise is that, city noise is definitely more in general. I mean, I don't think there's any doubt about that. But the problem is that I find that it can be more disturbing up here when you have noise, because it's not constant. So, we lived near the BQE for a while when we were in Brooklyn, and it was just like this constant hum, and I would basically just like tune it out, and I mostly tuned out fire alarms and, everything else. But here it's like dead silent. And then a truck goes by and you're like, what just happened? So, I mean, that's like, I think in some ways it's more disturbing because it carries more. And it's so if you're on, like I lived on 209 when we were renovating our house, which is it's a relatively big road here, and in Stone Ridge. And we were like, the bedroom was, was pretty close to the road, and I hated it. I've like never slept so badly. And that was after 17 years in Brooklyn. So it was like, it was weird. Also, not for nothing, nobody else complains about this, but nature is so noisy in summer. It's like legit. It's like, it does not shut up. It's just like, like all day and all night. It's true. It's true. I remember we used to come with Airbnbs and I was like, oh my God, I need earplugs. Like at least like, at some point they turn off the soap opera is playing next door, but like these cicadas or the spring beepers are not shutting up. So that was something I kind of had to get used to, although it is more relaxing, obviously, than having a bunch of like traffic and people noise. I think the best thing, like one of the best things for me about being up here is actually, or having a house instead of an apartment, is being able to be noisy. And I never thought about that, like the kind of constant, like, I don't know if we had friends over, or if we wanted to watch a movie or something, just being really mindful of not disturbing neighbors on any side, and then being really annoyed when we could hear like their kids running around upstairs or whatever it was. So there's something about that that's really cool, that you can like sit outside in your deck and play music, and it's like not really going to bother anyone, and or you can definitely sit inside your house and like watch TV as loud as you want to, or listen to music or whatever, and it's not like bothering anyone. And That, I think I underestimated how actually relaxing that is. Probably especially now that I have a dog that barks at everything. But Stuart. All right. Any other questions? Comments? Danny's gone. Danny was just like, he's gonna just drop in, drop some knowledge, drop the mic, back on the road. Is he driving his husband's Tesla right now? Because if he is, then that'll be more obnoxious. 100%. Just like, yeah. He's got Travis's Tesla. All right. Well, this was like actually super fun. Oh my God, we should do like tiny groups of FAQs. It's more fun. Jen's like, this is actually basically just like our morning meetings where you just like randomly just like burn out whatever's coming into your brain at that moment. So yeah, I guess
call it the Megan Masterclass. That's what this is.
I was just like, we had to run up to try and put an offer on something this morning. Like these clients got up and like got in the car. This is dedication. They got in the car at 6 a.m. to see something this morning. And they're like, we're getting her done. We're getting her done. So I was like trying to get the offer in and do all this. So it's, you know, it's dedication. So, oh, Danny's back. Danny, we're almost done. So bye. We were joking about if you're driving the Tesla or not. Are you?
No.
Oh.
I just went through
Embarrassing.
Minnewaska. So.
Oh, you did?
So I cut out.
Danny's like, I just drove over like Paradise Mountains. And now I'm about to look at the view of the Catskills.
There it is.
Oh my
Isn't
God.
it pretty? We live down there.
I remember driving that exact stretch, like the first time I was at Minnewaska, and being like, I wonder what this looks like in fall. Like, I wonder what it looks like at different seasons. And now I know I've driven it a million times. I'm going to stop recording and I'll tell you guys one more story. Stop. Oh, thank you, everyone. Thank you for coming today.